Hey everyone, here's my Oulton Park Fosters track guide in Formula V. So the main thing I'm going to talk about a lot with this car is minimum speed. So this car, it's very underpowered, and it takes a long time to build up speed. So the key thing to get lap time out of this car is basically not to slow down. Um, you want to keep your minimum speed in every single corner as high as possible, and that means that as you come out the corner, you'll be carrying 2 or 3 k's an hour more, and you'll carry that the whole way to the next corner. Obviously, if it's a long straight, like out of turn one here, that's a big advantage. So, first thing to work on with this car is track usage. As you can see down into turn one, we're right up against the grass, and that opens up turn one as much as physically possible. I like to use the brakes a little bit here. I know some people lift, but I find in this car you get a lot of initial understeer unless you tap the brakes as you turn. And as you can see, that little tap as I turn, you can see the front suspension compress, and that just gives it a nice bit of turn in initially. I actually have to counter steer a little bit, as you can see here on the left. But I find that's a lot better to get the nose in, and then you can sort of deal with the car throughout the corner. The other thing with the Formula V is the differential. It's very directly correspondent with how much throttle you put in, as opposed to sorry, the amount of throttle you put in correlates directly to how much rotation you get. So the more throttle you put in, the more the car will push straight on, the more understeer you get. The more you come off the throttle, the tighter the car will pull into the corner, and you get more rotation. So you'll notice into this corner, I'm already back on the throttle, trying to keep the minimum speed up, like we talked about, because any speed that we can carry out of this corner will carry all the way down to the next corner. But you notice as we get to the apex, I'm modulating it and actually using the brake again slightly just to play with that balance on the nose. By tapping the brakes just that couple of percent, you're just getting those front tyres to bite in that bit harder, just so we can get right into the corner. At this point here, I can see that I'm actually going to make it right to where I want to be, which is right up against the grass on the apex, so I can actually start to feed the power in more. And you'll notice the car starts to instantly push to the exit of the track, but that's fine. Start to wind the lock off, and we can bring it all the way to the edge. So again, track usage, as long as your tyres stay on the white line, your right hand side tyres, it's not a 1x. So use as much of the track as you can, and that means you can carry as much speed as possible out of this corner. Obviously, any advantage we've carried out of there will carry all the way down here. So on your delta, if you've done it well, you'll be gaining lap time all the way down to this corner. Turn two, easy flat, but it's really important that you actually cut it as much as possible. You want to be right up against the grass over the curb here, and you're just cutting distance basically. Again, because this car's so slow, any extra meter or so that you can take off your lap distance, it's going to gain you lap time. So if you stay in nice and tight, it actually pulls the car nice and straight for this next part, and it cuts distance. As you can see, by doing that, we're nice and straight way before we need to hit the brakes. Nice and hard on the brakes. Again, using all the track right out to the white line. That opens up the corner here. Again, as I turn in, I'm still quite hard on the brakes, using that weight transfer onto the front tyres, and you get that nice bite there. Car turns straight away. Again, you have to balance that a little bit with the steering because it does turn in quite sharply, but it gets you to the apex. Carrying that little bit of brake just to scrub a little bit more speed and keep that weight on the front. And then the moment I have realised I'm making the apex where I want to, off the brake, a little bit of coast, right up against the sausage curb. You don't want to hit it because it'll upset the car, either push it out or if you hit it with the rear tyre it will sort of kick you into a spin. At this point, already starting to pick the throttle up, again trying to get that exit speed up as much as possible because this next straight is quite long. Use all the track on the exit. You can see unwind the lock earlier than I need to, so you don't want to pinch the car over to the right here because that's just going to scrub speed. So let the car run all the way out. I actually end up using a little bit of grass. Don't need to do that. Preferably you actually just want to be on the white line, but doing this doesn't really hurt your lap time. The car's not powerful enough to spin the wheels up, so it really doesn't matter. It's all about letting the car run out, taking that steering lock off, so you're taking the scrub out of the car. Again, make the track as short as possible, so try and cut across here as tight as you can, and then let the car run out straight, as little scrub as possible, so all the way to the white line again. Same here, just right up against the white line, just cutting distance. Again, not putting any steering lock in because you don't want to scrub speed, so letting the car run a bit to the middle. And same again here, cut distance right up against the curb, not over it because you don't want to upset the car and again like have some scrub. So keep it as straight as possible, then bring it all the way out to the left, that track usage we talked about. The more left you can go here, the more you're opening up this fast right, and again, minimum speed is everything. If you can gain a kilometre an hour out of this corner, it's going to carry all the way down to the last corner. So by coming out this wide, you can actually turn into this corner flat, keeping that speed up, and you'll see I blend out of the throttle here, and like we talked about earlier, this is just to get that rotation in the car. By coming off the throttle, the car will actually get more rotation, so a bit of the weight goes on the nose, you get more bite from the front tyres, and you'll see the moment I come off the throttle, it actually pinches the nose in that bit tighter. Make the apex here, right up against the white line, and then once I have made that, starting to bring the throttle back in, back in, back in, and then full throttle from here. Again, letting the car run out. So you can see at this point, if I really wanted to, I could put more steering lock in. I could probably hit this apex here and follow what the racing line is suggesting that you do. But it's actually quicker to blend the steering lock off and let that speed build. Again, this car's very underpowered, so if you've got a lock of steering lock in, especially at this speed, you're just going to be scrubbing the front tyres. So you can see actually off the corner, the speed is dropping still, even though we're full throttle. So we were 140. Now we're 139 k's, and it'll actually drop to 138 just as we get here, back up to 139. So you can imagine that's with the steering as open as this. If you were pinching the car to the inside, you're going to be scrubbing a lot more speed than that. So those extra couple of k's we've carried by opening the steering and letting the car run all the way out to the edge of the track, that's going to gain us lap time all the way down to this last corner. Again, cutting distance, so you don't need to worry about bringing it off the curb and round the grass. You can actually just let it run through that last little bit of grass. It's not going to spin the wheels up, doesn't make enough power, and you're just cutting that distance again. Last corner, nice and hard on the brakes. Again, using that sort of rotation by getting the weight on the nose, turning in with still a bit of brake in, and then I actually like to play with the throttle quite a bit in this last corner just to get that rotation we talked about. So here, put a bit of throttle in, trying to keep the speed up, push the nose out, and then I realise I actually want to get in a little tighter, so I blend off a bit more, and then once I notice that I'm actually making it to where I want to, all the power back in. You'll notice in a few of the corners I actually do these little brake taps where it's registering a couple of percent. That's just to tuck that front in a bit more into the corner, but it's not enough that I want to be coming off the throttle, so it's just little taps, and it just pulls the nose in, gets a little bit of weight on the front tyres, and allows you to get in that bit tighter each corner without actually killing any speed, because you can see I've still got a lot of power in, sort of 70%. At this corner, full throttle, all the way out to the white line again, right up against the grass. Again, just that track usage, not scrubbing speed, keeping that minimum speed up, and if you can gain a few k's here, it's going to carry all the way to the line. Stay as tight left as you can, cut distance. I like to go into fourth gear across the line, even on a quali lap. Some people hold third. Doesn't really make any difference, I find. Both seem to give the same lap time. I just do fourth because it's what I do in a race. Obviously, you're going to change up because you're about to go on to your next lap. So as a matter of habit, that's what I do. You can see 110.0801. Other tricks with the Formula V that I think are just really important when you shift gears. So the car has quite a weird power band in terms of where it makes most of its power. So I find that the best time to shift from third to fourth is 130 k's. If you shift later than that, you just lose time. Again, if you shift earlier than that, you lose a bit of time. It's not massive, but it makes a bit of difference. And in this car where it's so underpowered, little things like that can actually add up to quite a bit of time. Other things, just not having auto clutch on. The auto clutch is quite slow to shift, so if you've got auto clutch, you're just going to lose a bit of time on every gear change. Round here it's not massive, you only go from third to fourth a couple of times. On tighter, twistier tracks it can be more, if you're going down to second, for example. Basically, the more gear changes you're doing, the more auto clutch is going to cost you. I reckon around a track like this, it's probably a tenth. Could be a little bit more, might be a little bit less, but it's going to be somewhere in that ballpark. So if you're able to do clutch shifting consistently without missing gears, I'd advise that you actually use the clutch and do it that way, because auto clutch is going to be costing you lap time. Brake bias, I don't actually change it much. Most tracks I leave it standard. If I do change it, it'll either be a click forward or a click back, but it's more just a comfort thing. It's not that changing the brake bias in this car makes a massive difference. I know some people who go really far forward. I know some people who go really far back. And personally, I just find that the standard brake bias works at most circuits. If you snatch the fronts quite a lot, maybe knock it back a click or two, but it's not like changing the brake bias is going to find you lots of lap time, so I really wouldn't worry about it too much. But yeah, that's my lap guide of Oulton Park. I'm looking to do a few more of these, not just Formula V, just any of the single seaters really. So depending what I'm racing, and if the lap times are good, I'll upload a track guide for the series that I enjoy, which is mainly all the single seater stuff, F3, Formula Renault. I sometimes do stuff in the F1 car, but rarely. But yeah, first of many hopefully, and I hope it was helpful.